All right, strap in everybody because today we're diving headfirst into the world of Dallas-Fort Worth's underground.
That's right. We're talking about the side of DFW. Most folks never see the gritty underbelly of crime and hustle.
Yeah, forget those fancy brochures and tourist traps today. We're getting real raw and unfiltered.
We're going deep, folks. Our source for this deep dive is a podcast called Street Realities,
Mm-hmm.
Unfiltered DFW, hosted by AI Street Profit and Hustle Intel.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of that one. Pretty intense stuff, right?
Definitely not for the faint of heart. And one thing that really stood out to me was this whole idea of respect being the real currency down there.
Respect, really, not like cash or connections or something.
It's deeper than that. It's like respect governs everything in this underground economy.
Yeah.
Who you deal with, where you stand, how safe you are. It's like a shield. The more respect you have, the less likely you are to become a target.
So it's like its own society down there with a whole different set of rules.
Exactly. It's a world that operates alongside the mainstream, but with its own values and power structures, hidden in plain sight. You could walk past it every day and never even realize it's there.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So what exactly are we talking about when we say underground economy? Give us the rundown.
Well, according to Street Realities, it's a vast network fueled by everything from drug dealing and sex work to what they call digital scams.
Digital scams, like what?
Think online fraudability, identity theft using technology to commit crimes, basically the new breed of hustlers.
Wow. So it's not just your typical street crime anymore. It's gone high tech.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's all intertwined. You got your old school dealers on the corners trying to stay under the radar, your sex workers caught in incredibly tough situations just trying to survive, and then you have these tech-savvy criminals operating in the digital shadows.
And I'm guessing those pimps, the ones exploiting these vulnerable people, they're still a big part of the picture.
Sadly, yes. They're definitely not sugarcoating anything on that front.
Yeah.
And to understand how it all works, you got to understand the importance of location.
Okay, take me there. Where's the action at?
Well, they specifically highlight Harry Hines Boulevard. They call it the heartbeat of the night scene, where all these different elements of the underground come together.
So it's like a melting pot of everything we've been talking about.
Exactly. You've got street hustlers, high-end escorts, all operating within this complex web of relationships and unwritten rules.
And I'm guessing law enforcement's got their eyes on this place.
Oh, absolutely. It's like a constant cat and mouse game between undercover agents from the DEA and FBI trying to infiltrate these networks and the criminals trying to stay one step ahead.
Talk about high stakes. That must be incredibly dangerous work.
You're telling me. And it gets even more complicated because they also bring up the issue of dirty cops.
Wait, hold on. Dirty cops. You mean cops who are actually involved in the illegal activity?
It's a harsh reality, but AI Street Profit and Hustle Intel don't shy away from it. It really
Yeah.
blurs the lines between who's on what side.
Man, that's heavy. So we've got this whole underground economy, different players, high-stakes locations, and even law enforcement tangled up in it. And at the center of it all is this concept of respect. You said it was like the currency down there. Can you break that down for us? What does that actually look like in this world?
Well, it's not just about fear or intimidation. It's about establishing your place in this hidden world, earning trust, proving your reliability, even showing a level of professionalism in your criminal dealings.
So even in this underworld, there's a code of conduct, a certain set of values people adhere to.
Absolutely. It's about creating order within what seems like chaos. And it's as important for the drug dealer on the corner as it is for the high roller gambler or the digital scammer working online. It's all about proving yourself, building your reputation, and establishing trust, however fragile that might be.
That's wild. So what does respect get you in this world? What are the benefits of playing by the rules?
Well, for starters, it can literally save your life. Remember, this is a world with very few official rules and incredibly high stakes. So having that respect can be the difference between being left alone and being targeted.
Like a shield. I guess the more respect you have, the less likely you are to become a victim.
Exactly. But it goes beyond just safety. Respect opens doors. It gives you access to bigger deals, better information. You can climb the ladder, so to speak.
Wow, it's like a whole different world with its own rules for success.
Right. And we're just scratching the surface here. We haven't even touched on the music that comes out of this world, the rappers who chronicle street life and give a voice to this often unseen reality.
Okay, hold that thought. We'll dive into the DFW underground music scene in part 2. Get ready to turn up the volume, folks.
You won't want to miss it.
See you back here soon for more of the deep dive.
Okay, so we're back and ready to crank things up.
That's right, last time we were down in the trenches of DFW's underground economy. Pretty wild stuff.
Wild's one way to put it.
Mm.
And you know what we haven't talked about yet is how all of this finds its way into music. Yeah, the music scene, especially rap, it's like a direct line to the streets.
So it's not just background noise. It's more like a reflection of what's really happening down there.
Exactly. These rappers, the ones AI Street Prophet and Hustle Intel, keep mentioning they're like modern-day storytellers,
Mm.
documenting the code, the hustle, the risks, and the rewards. They're giving a voice to a community that often gets ignored.
It's like they're giving us an inside look, a raw and unfiltered perspective that we wouldn't get anywhere else.
You got it. They're not holding back. They're talking about real places, real events, real people. It's all right there in the lyrics.
It's like they're painting a sonic picture of the DFW underbelly.
That's a great way to put it. It's like a guided tour through their music.
Now here's a question for you. Is this music only reaching people who are already familiar with this world? Or does it have a broader appeal?
That's what's interesting. It definitely speaks to those who live and breathe this life. But it also resonates with a much wider audience, people who may have never even set foot in a trap house.
So why do you think that is? Why are people so far removed from this world drawn to this music?
I think it's that raw authenticity. It's a glimpse into a world most people only see in movies or on TV. But this is the real deal. No sugarcoating.
It's like a window into a hidden reality.
Right, and it's not just about the beats or the rhymes, it's the stories. They're talking about real
Yeah.
struggles, real triumphs, real dangers. It's social commentary disguised as entertainment.
And thinking back to what we talked about earlier about respect being so important in this underground world, I bet that comes up in the music too.
Oh yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
They talk about earning respect, demanding respect, the consequences of disrespecting someone. It's woven into the fabric of the music, just like it's woven into their lives.
So by listening to this music, we can actually gain a deeper understanding of the values, the codes, the whole social structure of this world.
It's like a crash course in street sociology set to a beat.
That's a great way to put it. It's like these rappers aren't just entertainers, they're educators in a way. They're raising awareness about a reality that many people would rather ignore.
Yeah, they're shining a light on a world that often gets swept under the rug. They're forcing us to confront our preconceived notions about crime and culture and to see the humanity behind the stereotypes.
You know, this is making me think about the power of music in a whole new way. It's not just about making us dance or nod our heads. It can actually challenge us to think differently.
Totally.
Yeah.
It can open our eyes to different realities, different perspectives, and in this case, it's helping us connect with a side of DFW that most people never see.
It's like we're peering into a parallel universe, one that exists right here in our own city.
Right. And speaking of these different realities coexisting, maybe we should shift gears a bit and talk about the tension between this underground world and the forces that are trying to control it.
You mean law enforcement?
Exactly.
Mhm.
AI Street Prophet and Hustle Intel make it pretty clear that this isn't just a game. There are real-world consequences, especially when you factor in law enforcement trying to shut it all down.
Yeah. It's like a constant battle, right? Undercover agents and informants trying to infiltrate these networks.
A high-stakes game of cat and mouse. And on the other side, you've got the dealers, the scammers, everyone looking over their shoulder trying to avoid getting caught.
Living with that constant fear of getting busted.
Exactly. Paranoia and suspicion are just part of the daily routine.
And we can't forget about those dirty cops we talked about earlier. The ones who are blurring the lines, maybe even profiting from the very system they're supposed to be fighting against.
Yeah, that adds another layer of complexity, right?
What?
Makes you question who you can really trust.
Definitely raises some serious questions about power and corruption within the system.
It's a good reminder that things aren't always black and white. The line between good and bad, legal and illegal, can get pretty blurry in this world.
And that's what's been so eye-opening about this whole deep dive. It's not just about learning facts, it's about challenging our assumptions and seeing the nuances.
Absolutely. And I think one of the most important takeaways here is that this underground world, as hidden as it might seem, is still very much connected to mainstream society.
Right, it's not some isolated bubble. It affects everything from the economy to our culture.
And I think it also forces us to confront the bigger picture, the systemic factors that contribute to the existence of these underground economies.
You mean things like poverty and lack of opportunity?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Those are the root causes that create an environment where people are more likely to turn to illegal activities to survive or to get ahead.
It's like we've been looking at the symptoms of a much larger societal problem.
And while we can't solve those problems overnight, I think acknowledging them is a crucial first step.
Okay, so where do we go from here? We've been deep diving, exploring, analyzing. What's the call to action?
I think the call to action is to keep asking questions, to keep learning, to be more empathetic and understanding, and most importantly, to advocate for change.
Change that addresses the root causes of these issues.
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, this isn't just about crime and punishment. It's about people, their choices, their struggles, their aspirations. And it's about creating a world where those aspirations can be realized through legitimate and equitable opportunities.
All right, folks, we're going to take a quick break to process all of this. But don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with the final part of our deep dive into the DFW underground. Okay, so we're back. And I don't know about you, but I'm still processing everything we've uncovered about Dallas-Fort Worth underground.
It's a lot to take in, right? All those layers, the players, the locations, the music.
And something that's really sticking with me is this whole idea of trust, or I guess the lack of trust down there. I remember AI Street Profit and Hustle Intel. They talked about how suspicion is just part of the game. Like everyone's looking over their shoulder wondering who they can really trust.
Right. It's like trying to build something solid on a foundation of quicksand.
Yeah.
You never know when it's all going to come crashing down.
So how do people even function in that kind of environment? How do you make deals, build relationships, heck, just survive when you can't trust anyone?
That's where that code of silence comes in. You know, it's not just about keeping quiet to avoid the cops. It's about protecting yourself, your livelihood in this world where the stakes are so high.
So it's like a survival mechanism, a way to navigate a system that's built on mistrust.
Exactly. By sticking to the code, by not snitching, you're proving your loyalty. You're establishing some level of trust, even if it's fragile.
But isn't that a double-edged sword? I mean, the code of silence also protects criminals and allows illegal activities to continue, doesn't it?
It definitely creates a challenge for law enforcement. Makes it harder to infiltrate these networks to get evidence to hold people accountable.
So is it even possible to break the code of silence, or is it so ingrained in that culture that it's basically unbreakable?
Breaking the code is incredibly risky. You become a target not just from criminals, but potentially from corrupt cops, too. It takes a lot of courage to speak up.
You know, thinking about all of this, it really highlights how complex this world is. It's not just good guys versus bad guys. There's so much more going on beneath the surface.
And that's what's so valuable about these deep dives. They force us to confront that complexity, to see the nuances, and to challenge our own assumptions.
Totally. And I think one of the biggest takeaways for me is that this underground world, as hidden as it may seem, is still connected to the mainstream world. It's not some isolated bubble.
Right. It influences everything from our economy to our culture, the music we listen to, the social issues we face.
It's like this shadow economy that exists alongside the formal one, and they're constantly interacting.
And I think it forces us to ask some tough questions about the systems that create these underground economies in the first place.
You mean things like poverty, lack of opportunity, systemic racism?
Exactly. Those are the root causes, the things we need to address if we want to see real change.
It's like we've been focused on the symptoms without treating the underlying disease.
And while there's no easy fix, I think acknowledging those root causes is a crucial first step.
Okay, so where do we go from here? We've been deep diving, exploring, analyzing. What's the call to action for our listeners?
I think the call to action is to stay curious, to keep asking questions, to challenge our own biases, to be more empathetic, and to advocate for systemic change.
Change that creates more opportunities for everyone.
Right, because at the end of the day, this isn't just about crime and punishment. It's about people, their choices, their struggles, and their hopes for a better future.
And it's about creating a world where everyone has a chance to thrive regardless of their circumstances.
Exactly, a world where the underground economy fades away because the opportunities above ground are accessible to everyone.
That's a great note to end on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the DFW underground. We hope you learned something new, challenged your perspectives, and maybe even feel inspired to make a difference in your own community. Keep questioning, keep learning, and keep diving deep. See you next time.